Sean Doyle, how you doing?
Oh,
Johannes, welcome, sir.
Hey, hey.
What are
No,
y'all
this
up
is
to this fine evening?
I survived the winter in Germany, which kind of happened once per year, right? So we had a winter storm warning, which is kind of not comparable to what happens in US, right? We had like this little bit of ice outside, but all schools were closed and no one went to work. It was really interesting.
Really? Well,
Yeah,
was this kind of like the polar vortex thing that we have to deal with? Is similar issues?
I don't know what level of things you got, but for us it was really kind of boring.
Oh,
Don't know. Didn't expect it. Didn't expect. Anyway, my kids were home. My wife was home. That was an interesting day, with two teenagers at home. That can be challenging.
yeah, it can certainly do that. Hold on, let me post everybody. Let them know that we are live
Of
in
course.
in our weird time slot. in the
Thank
middle of the
you.
day for us. We're totally not used to this, but it's totally fine. Thank you for. It's 8 p.m. your time, so it's 2 p.m. our time. So this works out perfectly for everybody. This is awesome.
This is perfect. Thank you so much for most of the people then directly coming after lunch, I guess, right? So we're gonna need to wake them up today, I guess.
Exactly, with some fun CodeCatalyst stuff. Okay, let's get this thing started. AWS CodeCatalyst Q and the takeover of the AI CodeCatalyst Q and the AI takeover of developer tools with Johannes Koch. Johannes, AWS hero, all around wonderful human being, drinking friend from Vegas. How are you doing this fine evening?
I'm doing pretty fine, Chris, and it's a pleasure for me to be on. So I've been trying to get on your show for a while. I don't know. It took me very long to convince you.
It had absolutely nothing to do with the quality of the work that you do. It's all the fault of time zones and this tiny global community that we have. Now that the V Brown Bag EMEA channel is not as regular, it's been difficult to get you on the EMEA channel. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just have a daytime. Let's do the daytime time slot. We're covering somebody's soap operas, so we're not going to be able to watch our stories and see Johannes at the same time. But that's perfectly fine. I'd rather be doing this.
Yeah, I hope so. And I've been on the EMEA already once, Chris. Maybe you
Right.
you missed that. Talk about a similar thing, but not the same thing. And I think today we're gonna really have a full packed thing of how does this all look like and how does this work. And I hope that from you and Jean, Jean, I don't know how you pronounce your name. I'm
yep,
gonna get
you got
I
it,
call him
Sean.
Scene Doyle. Scene Doyle.
Scene Doyle. Okay, I'm gonna get a lot of interesting questions, and yeah, we have put some kind of some buzzwords into this title, Chris. You managed very well there.
Thank you. We try to make the title as salacious as possible to draw in folks. We have another talk coming up down the pipe. It's like how to make 30K in a month doing tech stuff. It's another one of those buzzwordy. Oh, hey, here's Roger too. Awesome.
What do I guess for? What do I get for guessing the person that is going to speak in that session?
You get a job. Well, you get me buying you drinks at the AWS Global Summit in July. How's that?
Okay, yeah. Well,
Who is it? Who do you think it is?
That's an idea. I would have guessed on Brian.
Well, no, it's not. It's not an AWS hero. It's not a hero.
It's not a hero. Okay, well then I lost, and I need to pay your drinks when you come to the community day in Germany in September, right? So
awesome. I'm very excited about that. So, Roger, welcome to the show, sir. How are you doing? You look very cold.
I am. It is really cold in Dallas, Texas.
That's right. You're down in Texas where they can't do cold.
We cannot do cold at all. We've got like 16-degree weather outside. We've got pipes outside dripping, icicles streaming down everywhere. Right, I think my neighbor's pipes burst last night. So yeah, it's
And you're from the
Man,
islands, so even Texas was Texas. You used to complain about the cold in Texas back when it was hot down there. You were coming up north, and now it's extra cold. It's ridiculous.
yeah, right.
Vong fam is talking about the cold. Hey Vong, good to see you, man. Okay, Sean, how you been? I didn't even ask you. How are you doing? What's going on over there? Are you freezing too, or is it just Roger?
no, it's freezing. Yeah, same thing. We have freezing rain, so schools are closed.
Hmm.
You know, hopefully my power doesn't cut out here. We'll
Power
see.
cut out. That's exactly the excuse I expect from you. Oh yeah, the power cut out. I can't ask any. Okay, I'm out. Bye. All right.
Never do that. Never.
I
Never.
know. I'm just pulling your leg. So Johannes, what do we want to talk about today? We have so many things that we need to cover. We've got the AI takeover developer tools. We've got Q. We've got CodeCatalyst. Where do you want to start? Do you want to do a screen share? Do you want us to be 4 talking heads bebopping around? We can do all the things you want to do.
I think we're going to do a little bit of a mixture, right? That was my idea for today, I did not bring much slides because I think slides are always boring, right? But I've been doing a lot of things around CodeCatalyst, and maybe we can give this one a head start and just. I'm going to start with a question, if that's fine. And so, Roger, freezing Roger, tell me, what is CodeCatalyst?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I know. That's why we're here.
Roger has all the certs. He knows this answer.
So CodeCatalyst, if memory recalls for me, if you're using, for instance, Visual Studio Code, it is the Amazon's way of automating code within, say, Virtual Studio Code. So if I can type in what I would like for it to write out, like for instance, hey, create me a Python script to say print hello, and it will write out the script for you. Am I right?
You're thinking of a different service.
I think we have too many service names and too many service names kind of in the same
that
kind
start
of
with
direction.
the word code.
So
probably.
So that was a great description of Code Whisperer, Roger.
Oh, gosh.
Correct.
Oh,
correct. Yeah, Chris was right here, but I think I can try to kind of cover a little bit on what I did, and I'm gonna need to try to share my screen. So let's see if I can get this one done in this tool.
This is a new one. Down at the bottom, you'll see present. Click on present, and then do either a window or a monitor. And the monitor is on a different tab.
I cannot do a monitor as I'm in my, and now this is going to come completely garbage. Doesn't matter. So what is CodeCatalyst? In fact, it's this, right? So I think that you can see my screen. I cannot see your smile, but I'm going to survive that. What is CodeCatalyst? Roger, it's kind of the answer of AWS towards other competitors like GitHub, GitLab, maybe also a little bit of Azure DevOps, a little bit of Harness, a little bit of all of the Atlassian's tools as a whole. So you can see it as an integrated DevTools service that is actually trying to cover all parts of your product lifecycle in your software development journey. So this means if you're a software developer, whether you're a small startup or whether you are now a big enterprise. Yes, go ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt, but we see your web browser. We see your
code.
Code
This is interesting. I was showing a slide. This is stop sharing. Let me try again because I shared my screen. Oh my gosh. Okay, there we are. I was sharing a slide.
All right, here we go. Okay.
Here we go. This is CodeCatalyst. This is what I was talking about.
We are trained
really
professionals,
sorry.
folks. Do not try this at home.
Yeah. So it is really the answer of AWS towards all of the success of other integrated developer tools that we have seen in the past few years. That's how I kind of position it. If you now want to look at it from an product lifecycle perspective, and I know that Chris knows this piece. the way that AWS positions CodeCatalyst, it is really all about covering all parts of the software development lifecycle. And we can argue about which pieces they do cover good and which pieces they do not cover good today. Now, I would like to jump over to another slide, but I can't figure out where it is. I'm going to find it out. So if you look at how do we actually see code flowing from the developer's desk to the production environment, it usually starts with the developer coming on the left-hand side doing some kind of stuff. For that, you do have an issue tracking system. You do have a source control repository. You maybe have an IDE. Then you'd run all of your CI/CD stuff that you need to bring your production, your application to the production environment, and this all runs through a pipeline. The idea of CodeCatalyst is to cover all pieces as part of this pipeline. So what we knew as code pipeline before is now also included in what we know as CodeCatalyst today. What we knew as Cloud9 is covered as part of CodeCatalyst as part of the development environments. Now, and I'm going to stop sharing. When we started the journey towards CodeCatalyst like about 16 months ago, the tool wasn't really able to achieve a lot, and it was really meant to try it out for a year. Now, with this year's reInvent, the picture has changed a little bit. We have seen a lot of enterprise features coming in that are very important for a tool like this to be successful. And I think that's what we should be focusing on today, right? Which drives us to talk about developer tools and then to talk about how the hell do we use Q and GenAI within CodeCatalyst to be successful. And I think that's one of the pieces that we can also have a look on in the next few minutes that we have. Gonna post there, Chris, Jean, Roger, to answer any questions maybe that you have on your head right now before we dive into the product.
I'm good. Mr. Doyle, Mr. White?
No, I'm good. I'm interested to learn more. I haven't had too much time to play around with CodeCatalyst, so
Nice.
or even
We're all
explore
gonna
it.
learn
So
here.
I'm interested to see. And
That's great to hear. The good thing about CodeCatalyst is it is, at least for me personally, it is kind of new, as I already mentioned. It was announced at reInvent 2022. It went GA last year in April 2023, roughly. This means it's a very young service. And the best thing is that because there are so many strong competitors, there's only a very minimal portion of the AWS community and of the community as a whole picking that up and producing content on it. So for any kind of questions that you have, I have you covered on my YouTube channel that Chris is going to link, right, where I have kind of all of the walkthroughs on how to do the different special things. So we're going to kind of today really talk about the key new features that we got at the reInvent, especially focused on the GenAI stuff, because I think this is where there's a lot of improvements that we can see from that one going forward as well. Okay.
And I'm not gonna let you lightly gloss over that. Johannes Johannes is an AWS DevTools hero, and his passion is CodeCatalyst, and he has got a growing and very in-depth CodeCatalyst YouTube channel where he gets into all the things. It's quite good. We're going to put a link to it in the show notes for everybody to check it out, but it's something that you definitely want to subscribe to. After you, sir.
So, thank you so much for that call out. So I'm now gonna have a look, hopefully, on CodeCatalyst, and I'm gonna kind of show a brief overview on what CodeCatalyst has as a features. Gonna try to keep that very light. Please feel free to answer questions afterwards. And then we're gonna try to use the GenAI components that CodeCatalyst has today to do some funny thing with it. So I'm gonna once again do this try out to share my screen, and today and this time I'm gonna try to do it better. Okay, so CodeCatalyst. This is the way that you get to it, right? So you can just go into codecatalyst.aws. It's a service that lives out of the console. That means you can log in with your builder ID that you can set up. And now, new feature, you can set it up to use AWS Identity Center to log in as well, which gives you the possibility to link it within your existing identity provider for you as an enterprise. And this is pretty powerful because you can then finally have only one identity within your organization, but allow access to all of the different CodeCatalyst spaces through that identity provider. And I think this is really worth giving it a second look, because that was one of the most anticipated features of the last year. If you then go into the system, you will end up at something that is kind of a space. In the space, you can think of this as my overall overarching organizational view into CodeCatalyst. You will then have multiple projects, and as you can see, I've been playing around a lot with this. And in those projects, you can then have, once again, all of the components that you need for your software lifecycle, starting from issues over source repositories, then pull requests, dev environments, and all of the workflows, which allows you to deploy up to the production environment as well. You can also manage your environments over here. And also another feature from reInvent 2023, you can also store your packages within CodeCatalyst. I can't see your screen, your faces, Chris. If there's any questions, no, because of sharing, and I don't care. Just stop me if you have any questions, please. Okay.
Gotcha. Absolutely.
Okay. Gonna jump into my one of my projects. This is a project that I personally don't know. CodeCatalyst has a very cool feature of blueprints where you can get started very fast with a very already set up project. In this case, this blueprint that I'm using here creates a React SPA application, so a single page application. It uses CDK for infrastructure as code, and it deploys it out to Amplify hosting. This is the description of the blueprint. I didn't touch that project. I just created it before this talk to have it ready. If you then jump into the workflows, where you can actually see that the deployment of this React app has already happened, right? You can see multiple workflows, one of them here being this one that actually deployed out the React application. The aim for the next few minutes is now going to be, I don't know much React. Let's try to get a GenAI bot to do a change for us. And I don't really know what we're going to do, because Chris is going to help me with prompting that, right? And this is the power of GenAI within CodeCatalyst. Didn't I tell you before? Anyway,
but I'm ready.
This is the app that we have today. It is really boring, right? It doesn't do anything. So now, CodeCatalyst, as per last reInvent, has announced the possibility to integrate a GenAI bot. The way that you do that is, well, you talk to the bot as if it would be one of your team members. So we're going to this board, which is the issue tracking system built within CodeCatalyst. You can actually integrate with Jira if you want to today, but I prefer to use the internal version. This is a full end-to-end Kanban board. You can also kind of do Scrum. There's still room for improvement on that area, but you can track your issues and manage your development work over here. We're going to try that out. So, Chris, if you look at this beautiful, wonderful app, what would be the first thing that you would change? Let's try to put that in a user story, and let's see if we can assign that to our friend, which is actually called Amazon Q.
So the first thing that I would do is start with a welcome page, a home page.
Then how do we describe that to the GenAI tool?
Improve. So part of the thing when you're talking with a chatbot is you need to say things like, assume the role of and things like that. For Q, is the role already that of a experienced software engineer that understands? I mean, do we have to do the regular prompting, or do we just start with assumptions of role?
I think we can try both. In this case, we can assume that Q has been trained on AWS internal code and is also able to understand as if I would talk to Chris. Like, as an example, my first thing might be replace the text of learn React with, I don't know, listen to Chris or something like that. It would be the easiest thing, right? To just change this text as an idea, right?
Subscribe to V Brown Bag.
Okay, let's try that. So let's see if that works. And to be honest, it's Scan AI. You never know what you get, right?
That's right.
Change the text of the main React page to say subscribe to the brown bag instead of learn React. And I'm gonna be very stupid and gonna try to just put that over here. And because I love red, we're gonna try to change the color to red and make the background color of the page red. Oh, red is gonna be very bad to see.
Yeah.
Let's go with white, even if it's late. Okay. So now, the way that I can interact with Q, this is one of the features that CodeCatalyst got, is I can ask Amazon Q to actually implement this. And I think we're going to just try that. And while Q is working, we are going to talk a little bit about why the hell is this Amazon Q and what is this all about. So I'm going to maybe just keep on here for a second. So now we're going to see that this is the issue that I created. I can see that it has been assigned to Q. I can also see that it is blocked now. Oh my gosh, why? Something happened. So I can now interact with Amazon Q in the way that I would interact with a developer that picks this one up. So it seems like Q is not really happy, right? So Q now gave me a reply. He asked me a few things, like before he begins, he would like me to answer some questions, right? Do I want to review every single step? I can yes or no. I would say no. I don't want to wait. I don't want him to stop. Does he have the possibility to modify the workflows to make this a success? And I would say yes. I will now need to point him to the repository. In this case, we have only one, so it's simple. But in a project where I have multiple repositories, I might need to choose the one where he should be doing the code changes. After these prompts, now Q is going to start doing something. And we can now see that what I confirmed here is documented. And now, hopefully, we would be seeing that there's going to be a status update regularly. So it evaluated the prerequisites. It's now going to read the repository. It's going to generate some things. And I'm going to pause the sharing here for a second while we wait until the queue is done. So I can see Chris smile on one side. And on the other side, I can maybe talk a little bit about why Q and what the hell Q actually is. So, Roger, last time I put a spot on you. This time I'm going to put it on Jean. What is Amazon Q? What's your thought around Amazon Q?
Come on, you got the easy question.
Oh, I'm not sure, Roger. I'm not sure. Let's see.
From my understanding, which was just at reInvent, is it's their internally trained LLM that is chatbot that's going to assist people, not just, I thought it was just going to assist people like having an architect in the console where, you can be in the console, you can say, hey, I need to connect this VPC to this VPC and I want to use Transit Gateway. Can you help me out with that or show me what to do? Or maybe I have a problem, help me troubleshoot it, give it some details, and it would sort of be an interactive, almost like an interactive support / architect, but it also seems like it now can generate pull requests and code for you, which is pretty interesting. I never knew that they were going to integrate that into CodeCatalyst. That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So that is a start of an answer, I would say.
Wow.
So
Tough crowd.
we're here to have fun, right? And
Yes.
I'm German, right? So I'm here to challenge people. I don't know. And this, I'm just gonna try to iterate a little bit. There's two parts of answer to this question, which is why I said this is the harder question. I'm gonna start with, let's call it the visionary one, and the one where Amazon has been presenting that, at least to me, in one or two of the sessions that I've been attending at reInvent. And then I'm gonna give a different answer, which is kind of my personal answer on what Q is today. Right. So let's start with the marketing answer at the end. What is Amazon Q? Amazon Q is a service and is a tool that spans across multiple services at AWS and gives you the possibility to perform your day-to-day tasks in a better and faster way. It uses the power of LLMs to make you successful as a builder on top of AWS. This means it integrates with CodeCatalyst. It integrates with the console. It integrates with the help and the documentation, as Jean already pointed out. It also gives you the possibility to do things like code transformation to upgrade your Java applications from Java 8 to Java 17 within seconds. It does all kinds of things to make you as a builder on AWS successful. This is the vision. This is the idea. It's going to be popping up in all different kind of services going forward, and it's going to make your day-to-day life easier. One of the examples for Q here being it is supposed to solve your most common challenges with Lambda functions. Obviously, I'm not sure if that always works. I never tried it, right? But as I said, this is the kind of marketing idea behind it. And Chris, maybe we can link. There's a really good talk from Claire Ligori that she gave at reInvent. I can look it up for you. We can link that later in the show notes, where she explains the overall vision of kind of how Q is going to be looking like in a few minutes in a few months. Now, back to my Johannes using Q. The answer, which is a little bit different to that, right? So for me today, and you can see that, and this is also shown why you didn't kind of know that CodeCatalyst piece. Q is using GenLI to solve specific tasks in specific services today. There's no overarching kind of umbrella that gives you as a builder kind of the access to all of your day-to-day tasks. You can use Q to answer documentation questions. You can use Q to generate code or to transform your Java applications, but there is no umbrella that ties all of your decisions together. And this is why today Q is, for me at least, still a little bit disappointing, but I can see the vision and the idea on where this is going forward, right? This thing that we're just looking at, I'm going to just share my screen again in a second. It also shows that we're in the very early stages of generative AI, right? Because we're going to see, at least that's what I guess, because I tried a similar thing before, that we're going to be really disappointed of the outcome of what Q generated. And this is clear because it first needs to learn on how we as builders are going to interact with the responses that it gives us. Does that answer kind of the things around, Chris, what Q is? At least that's my answer to it. Do you have a better one? Or a different one, maybe?
I'm not Richard Boyd, so no, I don't have a better one.
Okay. I'm going to leave it like that. And let's look back into what Amazon Q did with this issue. So we tried to change the text to subscribe to be brownback. And we also tried to change the background page and make it white. What we can see now is that it has evaluated prerequisites. It has read the repository. Now, remember, we prompted it to not stop after each step. We could have now given him hints before it actually moves on. In this case, we didn't do that. It still now showed us the background. It showed us the approach that it's going to take. We can read that in a second, right? And it's then going to generate the code. Why am I pointing out that it is important to think about, do I want to prompt it before it actually moves on? This is important because of the pricing model, right? So the pricing model is based on, and if we're going to just have a quick look on it, I need to be on the standard tier to make this happen. As you can see, I just upgraded this CodeCatalyst space to the standard tier. And you will see that this is going to cost me $4 per user. And there's also an enterprise tier, which allows some more functionalities. I decided to go with the standard tier. The main difference between standard tier and enterprise tier right now is the custom blueprints, which is my absolutely favorite thing. We're going to talk about that later. And the other difference is that if you are in the enterprise tier, the compute minutes, dev environment hours, and other stuff is going to automatically scale up with the number of users that you have, which is kind of interesting. And that's a differentiation to other competitors. But the standard tier gives me the possibility down here to Amazon Q to execute 15 pull requests per space per month. So now, with the issue that we had, we already generated one pull request. We're going to look at that in a second. But I did not give him any hints. This means I expect the result of the pull request being really bad. Okay, that's just my expectation. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's have a look. But if I stop the assistant between the different steps, I can give him prompts and hint on how to perform better on his way, right, towards generating the code for me. I will also see down here the replies, kind of the documentation of what the bot, the assistant did. And I would suggest that we look back at the status of this thing. So if we go back to our Kanban board, we will now see that this one is in progress. And yeah, now let's have a look on the pull request that has been generated.
I'm also interested to see what the messages are on the commits. Like, say you're working on a team and you're following conventional commits or something to that standard. Like, can you prompt it to edit it in that way, or would you, or would it just, like, what kind of commit messages does it submit? You know, because those are important, especially when you're doing releases and things like that.
First thing, that's a great point. I don't know. Let's try. And second thing, I would really want to try it to use conventional commits. Today, there is no possibility to define that, as far as I know. So what I see on the pull request page now is going to be that there's an AI branch where it actually merges some stuff to the main branch. I can also see that here's the description of what it actually did. I can see that there's some comments on the pull request already. I can see that it tried 2 times. The first time it failed, and then it tried again, and then it generated some code. Let's have a look on the code. So what did it do? In the CSS file, it updated the app header and made this one white. I think, I'm not sure if that's going to solve my problem, because I did want to upgrade the complete background, but maybe we can just give it a try. And then, oh, this is interesting. Chris, you are so a geek coder. I know that. Tell me, what did it do?
Customer get by size. It actually did change. Wait. No, it kept the same React link, but then it also added another subscribe to V brown bag link as well.
Did it? I'm not sure.
No idea. Yeah, me either. Let's hit refresh and find out.
And that's what I kind of wanted to prove with this. The Gen AI assistant helps us only as far as we understand what it generates. If we don't understand what it generates, we can review this thing, we can say approve, and we're going to be really disappointed in the moment that the workflow finishes the deployment. Why? This is a test file. It changed the test, but it missed to change the app.tsx, which contains the actual source code. So now it's going to run the workflow, but it's actually going to fail in the test phase, because it's now trying to find subscribe to V brown bag, but it's not going to find it, right? Because it doesn't exist. So this is, unfortunately, has been a lot of my experiences with Gen AI generated code in CodeCatalyst, that the answers are not always perfect. Now, it's easy to blame Q for that. but is it really Q?
I was
Oh,
going to blame Sean for that.
Oh no, that's even worse. I think it's us, right? We did a very bad job at that prompt because we just gave him something kind of that didn't really help him. Okay, so now there's the possibility to give him some hints. So let's add some comments here. As of today, you can only click this create revision once, and then Q is going to give up. So there's only one iteration possible on a pull request. This means now we're going to need to get the prompt right.
Right.
Okay, so let's try again. Before we go there, and this gives me time to think, let's have a look on the commit messages, because I think, Sean, you asked for that. How do we find the commit messages? That's a good point. Let's go to the source code repository over here. Let's have a look on the corresponding branch, which is the AI branch issue. And then let's have a look on the commits, and let's see if there's any meaningful commit message. Okay, so we can see that the author is Amazon Q. We can also see, this is interesting. It first did a change where it actually hit the app TSX, and then it updated this one again. So this would have been my expectation, right? This is interesting. Anyway, let's try to give him a better hint. So just verifying there's no change. Okay, so now we saw that the commit messages are kind of helpful, but not really. It doesn't mention the issue. It doesn't follow the conventional commits. And we can maybe try to help him to do that. Let's see. But this doesn't really work, because he says he already created a revision. That's not true, because we didn't ask him to. But anyway, let's just start from scratch and do a better job at writing our prompt.
Lino saying you need to tell Q to squash the commits.
Yeah, he's not that smart yet. So let's try again. What was our prompt? And let's see if we can improve it a little bit. I'm gonna just copy paste this text and put it in the title.
Too, it moved it to in progress. You moved it to in progress.
Yeah, it did. It does directly when it starts working on it. So change the text of the main React page to say subscribe in. Please also update the tests and ensure that you follow conventional commits in your commit messages. Maybe that's something that helps him a little bit more. And let's be very explicit. You need to update src app.tsx and src app.test.tsx. Okay, we're gonna give this another try. And while we wait for Q
and the
to
CSS
go
file,
ahead.
right? Oh,
Come again?
And the CSS file, but I think you took out the white background.
Yeah, I took out the white background to make it a little bit easier for Q, just because I wanted to see it successful, right? So let's move here. Yes, you can, and you can try again.
So I have
now,
a question about like the CodeCatalyst itself and not necessarily the Q integration. So is Amazon, is the idea then that development teams would just use CodeCatalyst directly instead of, say, code build, code pipeline, code commit inside of their account? Because I know they also had Code Star. So it seems like there's a plethora now of developer tools, and this is sort of trying to unify them all together.
Yeah. So
Like if I was a
Let's
developer and I was in
let's say,
AWS, which one would I use? Would I use their native account stuff or would I use CodeCatalyst, right?
I think there's different use cases for CodeCatalyst than there is for the different code suite today. CodeStar does not exist anymore. It's going to be, at least the CodeStar project is going to be discontinued this March. Code Build and Code Pipeline, they do still exist, so does Code Commit. And the main thing here really is that there's different use cases for using the pipeline approach than using that integrated DevTools approach that CodeCatalyst offers. And CodeCatalyst covers more than just the pipeline and deployment stuff that Code Build and Code Pipeline used to cover, right? So I agree with you that there's too many choices today, right? And there's too many possibilities. And it's also kind of a flavor thing, right? As an example, CDK pipelines do currently not support CodeCatalyst, but they support Code Pipeline, and as an example, right? So if you want to write pipelines as code, you need to use if you want to use CDK, you're stuck to Code Build. On the other side, you can write YAML files and for workflows in CodeCatalyst, and they are kind of compatible to GitHub Actions. So that gives you a little bit of an easier migration step. Also, the CodeCatalyst workflows support GitHub Actions out of the box. So that means you can kind of reuse everything that is in the marketplace, or at least everything that does not require a GitHub state, right? This limits down the number of actions a little bit. CodeCatalyst today also allows you to integrate with existing source code repositories coming from, I think, GitLab and GitHub today, right? So you can integrate with your existing source code repository if you want to. I think the answer is also a little bit of flavor and what do you want to do, right? As we're now talking about Q, I would not say that Q today is a differentiating factor for CodeCatalyst. I think custom blueprints might be, and maybe we can save at least 5 minutes to talk about those as well in a few minutes.
And I guess that's a good thing. So more choice is not necessarily a bad thing, right? So you have all these choices now, which is good. So
yeah, I
just said the same thing twice, just forward and backwards. Did you see that? That's me not thinking of the right words.
Yeah, but let me comment on Apple is very successful, and Steve Jobs was saying one thing: every decision that you need to take on a day takes energy from you. And I think that's the same about developer tools, and especially about development tools kind of around the globe. We need to take a lot of decisions to make them work for us. And it's really hard to take those decisions today because there's so many choices and possibilities in what you want to do. I think that's where, yeah. And here I hope that we as a community, but also the AWS team, makes it a little bit easier to help us guide those decisions. When do I use which developer tool? When do I use which service? What's the purpose of doing specific things, right? And giving us some guidance into the direction of what is the right thing for me and my team, which is always also, of course, influenced by the culture of your team and of your organization. Okay, so I think it might be a great time, and I'm not sure but maybe, Chris, we can use this to not talk about Q anymore because we're going to be disappointed again, right? So please find a way out of Q in this case. But I'm going to kind of show one or two more things. So as you can see, it did do some stuff. It generated some background. It generated some comment. But as we were talking, I saw this message a few times, like I'm having technical difficulties. And obviously, with CodeCatalyst being a managed service, I don't have a possibility to kind of look into the details. So I don't really see the log files of what's happening behind this. So we're going to give him some more time. While we wait for that, I'm going to just quickly jump into the one pull request that we see, because there is another possibility of using Amazon Q in CodeCatalyst. The other possibility that we have is down here. You can create a comment summary. And you can also actually somewhere see a summary of the code. But over here, I can click on Create Comment Summary. It's now going to summarize all of the comments that we have down here. And it's going to pull that up here. So if there is a pull request with like 30 or 40 comments, right? I would be getting an automated GenAI generated summary of that over here. And I think that there is a third. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
To be clear, we have 15 PRs that we can burn on this, and we've burnt 2 of them unsuccessfully because of Q misinterpretations.
I think so.
All right.
Let's see if we can see that quota. I'm not sure about that. I think here I can't see them. I don't even know when it is active, when they do an update for that, but let's try. So down here we saw our quota somewhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We have burned 2.
Okay.
Oh, that was dollars spent fast. But that's
Right.
that's that's the same with all stuff at at GenAI. Okay, so cool. The pull request number 2 is now finished. It somehow managed to create us one, and let's see if this one is a little bit better, and maybe then we can move to custom blueprints a little bit. Okay, so it says update APP, it says update the tests, and it says update the. And here, I think Jean, you asked the question, right? It kind of used something like conventional commits, or I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so now we can see that it changed the app.txt. Here we had a render. Oh, really? It took away my app. Or what did it do? This is a test. Oh, here it changed something. It changed some parts of the text, but it kept the text down here. Okay, so as you can see, I have a track record of writing bad prompts. This means this is something I need to improve.
Hold on. Is it you have a track record of writing bad prompts, or LLMs are not asking clarifying questions to be prompted appropriately? Because language is language. I think you're blaming the wrong vehicle, Johannes.
Yeah, I think at the same time it really shows that you need to understand what the GenAI tool does. If you don't, you're screwed, right?
So I think they need to step up their game. That's all there is to it.
And in 2023, we have all been rushing into kind of GenAI, and I was talking to Dave, who runs the AWS Developer Podcast, which you most probably also follow.
Dave Isbitsky? I love Dave Isbitsky.
Yeah, I do love him as well, but he did 6 of his episodes on GenAI, I think. In 1 year. That was kind of way too much for me. So I asked him to lower down that game, right? Because I think GenAI is not ready for prime time yet. And I think that's where we really need to make use of it. So how would I envision an assistant in something like a developer tool helping me out, right? I want him to automate my daily tasks. The moment that I comment on the pull request, I want a new issue for Chris to be created to fix that bug that he implemented in the PR or something like that. I want him to automate my workflows. I want him to improve the way that I actually deliver code at the end, and the way to improve my workflows. So if I have an issue that is being pinged multiple times between 2 different engineers, then something needs to happen that stops this. And here's, I think, a better use of GenAI than at the moment for code generation, at least in this way, because we all see it's an iterative process of getting the LLM to deliver something that is meaningful to you, right? And something that really helps. And that's what we need to, I think, change a little bit. And I hope that with AWS, the CodeCatalyst, Amazon CodeCatalyst being an integrated tool, they are going to make use of GenAI that improves the day-to-day life of developers, and not tries to put the GenAI buzzword in different areas where it doesn't really level up the game of that.
We have another AWS hero in the audience watching us right now. Hello, Miss Danielle is one of my favorite people, and she says the problem with GenAI is that humans are behind it, and humans are imperfect. That is entirely accurate.
That's true. And Danielle is also part of a team that I'm working with that actually uses CodeCatalyst for over 12 months.
Nice.
For we're doing that speakers directory that I was pitching to you about, Chris, which is really focused on bringing visibility into the AWS speakers. We're working on CodeCatalyst, and she and others in the team have provided very valuable feedback for CodeCatalyst as well.
Awesome.
So let's jump into what keeps me more excited than AI, right? So now we spent 50 minutes on the buzzword, and now we're getting to the real story, Chris. So we're gonna need to do a few more minutes. Now, to be honest, something very fascinating that was launched, and it's, I think, underrated. I'm not gonna give you all of the details because I have my complete playlist full of it, is the idea of custom blueprints in CodeCatalyst, which essentially makes project scaffolding available in CodeCatalyst. So this gives you the possibility to actually pre-generate projects and set them up in your way. This means if you look at it from an enterprise perspective, you might have 50 teams building 50 different services. Today, you do a lot of copy pasting to ensure that they are kind of all the same. Maybe you have some project scaffolding to get them done, to get a new team started. But the moment that they started, the code bases that they shared before are kind of going to be divergent. They are diffracting. With custom blueprints and CodeCatalyst, the team tries to solve that, right? Because they give you the possibility, and I think I can quickly share parts of that. They give the possibility to connect a project to an existing blueprint that is kind of a project template. Now, the moment that I update that project template, I'm also going to be able to update all of the projects that are dependent on this. And this is cool,
nice.
right?
Yeah.
Because I can automate that. I can use that for all kind of use cases. As an example, security team changing security rules. One click, and I can roll that out to all of the projects within an organization. Node updates from Node 16 to Node 18. I change that blueprint on one page, and then with one click, I can get that everywhere, right? And this is a pretty powerful thing. I've been spending a lot of my time on that over the holidays, and also doing a lot of videos on that. Chris, go ahead.
I have a dumb question. Can you do it in the reverse? Can you take an existing project and templatize it based upon markers in the system so that you can reverse engineer a brownfield environment and templatize it?
I know that there is a CodeCatalyst channel in our Heroes Slack, Chris. This is a great place to put that. I've put it there as well. I want that as well. So I want to have my project, and I want to templatize that. Right. So I can then apply that to all of my other stuff. Right.
Exactly.
Let's just quickly look at how this is going to look like. And I come on, where is it? API Gateway from Blueprint. I think this is the one.
And while you're doing that, Mohammed in the audience has a question. What do you think about? I think that's saying, what do you think about deploying AWS CodeCatalyst as infrastructure as code?
Amazing question. Today, this is not possible. CodeCatalyst does not have an infrastructure as code component. There is no CloudFormation or something like that. But I've been talking to the team to make custom blueprints the possibility to be infrastructure as code for CodeCatalyst, because you can actually use custom blueprints to define all of your product resources today. This means I can not only create source code, I can also set up environments, dev environments. I can set up reporting. I can set up packages, connectivity, all of compute instances. All of that can be already set up by custom blueprints. So depending on the investment and depending on where that goes, you can kind of think of custom blueprints being used for infrastructure as code, or let's call it better, configuration as code for CodeCatalyst, because that's what you're aiming for. You don't want people to manually configure something. You want to automate that. Given we have 5 minutes, I think, let me just quickly share an example that I have pre-prepared. So in this example, I have a project that is called From API Gateway Blueprint. This From API Gateway Blueprint is using multiple blueprints, and it is even using one of the blueprints multiple times. I have a video that explains this in details, but in short, this blueprint defines how do I add a new route to an existing API gateway in CDK. And this is automated, right? So now this one added a details route, this one added a recording route. I can now
Sorry,
go in
Johannes,
here.
if you mean to be
hold on.
sharing, we're waiting. We're just catching up.
My
There we
bad.
go.
There we go. I just caught up.
Okay, so going back to blueprints, these are the blueprints that are currently added to this project. I have 3 routes today. I can now go ahead in here and add another route in a blueprint that I wrote myself, and I can select this one over here. I will now be able to configure that, and I will see the project code and the code changes that are being generated over here. We have 2 minutes left to go through that, so I think it's going to be possible to do that. I'm going to just
We can go over a
quickly
little bit. It's fine.
add here the brown bag, and hopefully, if I did things right, this is now going to generate my code. It's going to show me how it looks like. As you can see over here, I have a new stack that is called the brown bag stack. This vBrownBag spec now obviously uses bad CDK code because I wrote it, not experts, right? But it uses that sub API construct, which we're then actually going to look at over here, and initiates a new route that has the path vBrownBag. The moment that I now say apply blueprint, I will be getting this code generated as a pull request in my source code repository, and I can then apply that to my project, which is when there's this new connection between the blueprint and the project itself, right? So we should now be seeing over here. This is the new thing that I added just now. I can see the version that is being used over here of the blueprint, and I can see that there is a pending pull request. So pending pull request will look the same as the code changes that we just saw, right? But I will see over here, right, that there's a bunch of code that is now being added. And the cool thing is really now, the moment that I merge this, I can update this blueprint, and then I can change the way that this construct looks like for all of the different APIs with just one update. And I think this is really, really powerful. There's so much more possibilities to do stuff over here as well.
Yeah, that's super awesome.
And you mentioned there was more information on like deeper dive into blueprints on your YouTube channel.
Yes, yes, there is. There's also they also open sourced last week, and one of the favorite things here is they open sourced on GitHub because there is no possibility to open up the source code repositories on CodeCatalyst today, right? So I'm going to just quickly show that open source piece here that you can have a look on. So Chris, now do your magic. Over here, you see.
You could just tell me to take the thing down, and you don't have to continually stop. Never mind, we'll figure it out.
Okay. Anyway, for next time, if you invite me again, we can.
Oh
we can
yeah,
do
you're
that
definitely coming back on again.
So this is kind of the open source repository for the custom blueprints, and you can also get involved over there, right? They open sourced that last week. You can have a look on GitHub, and there's some activity already going on. There's some issues that you can add, but this is really pretty powerful because you can now also ask them to add the infrastructure as code that you're looking for. I think Roger, you were the one pointing that out at the end, right? But yeah, that keeps me exciting, right? Because there is so much possibilities on how to do that going forward, right? And how to really leverage that to automate project setup and to automate product life cycles at the end, right? Yeah, that's the stuff that I had kind of in my head. I have 255 slides left, Chris, if you want to go through them now.
We have to put a pin in it. We are at time, but we can always do this on another date. We can stack you up as many times as you want to, Johannes. Always love having you on.
as often as you want to talk about something that I'm passionate about, right? And as you see, this CodeCatalyst stuff has been really fascinating for me, right? So if anyone has any questions or advice in the audience, or the people listening to this one afterwards around CodeCatalyst, right? Reach out to me, and Chris can make the connection, or also Roger can. Just ask any questions you have. And if you feel like CodeCatalyst is not working as it should, I'm pretty sure I've hit the same roadblock already, but please let me know. I can forward that to the guys fixing that at the end, right? I really, I hope that this service is gonna be getting more adoption in the next few months. And I can see things going into that direction, actually.
Well, if it doesn't, it certainly won't be because of lack of effort on your part. So you've got a great channel. You tons of really good information over there. Check it out. On YouTube, it's CICD on AWS, right, Johannes? Yep. I'll put the link into the show notes. Everybody go out there and subscribe to it. Check it out if you're passionate about CodeCatalyst. And Johannes, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you coming out later in the evening for you. And Roger and Sean, thanks for coming in the middle of the day for me. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thanks, Johannes.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, folks, have a great day, and we'll talk to you again next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right.